They were built in silence, one stone at a time. Not for applause, not for spectacle, but for something deeper, something enduring. Across vast landscapes, through forests, high in the mountains and deep beneath the stars, the ancient world left behind more than ruins. It left behind whispers carved into stone, messages from civilizations long past, still echoing through time. Tonight, we'll journey across continents and centuries to explore 10 of the world's most extraordinary ancient feats of architecture and design. You'll drift gently from the misty plains of Stonehenge to the jungled towers of Angkor Wat, from the sacred ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the lost heights of Machu Picchu. Each chapter, a soft step through time, each monument, a quiet marvel. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. It's somewhat comforting to imagine all of us, scattered across the globe, quietly unwinding together. So, breathe deeply, settle in, and allow the mysteries of time and space to cradle your imagination. For in the quiet hours of the night, under the same stars once watched by our ancestors, the secrets of long-lost civilizations await, patiently, gently, like ancient echoes still whispering in stone. The wind brushes gently across the golden dunes, stirring up soft waves of sand that catch the light like flakes of amber. You stand upon the Giza plateau just as the sky begins to shift, painted in pale tones of lavender and rose. The world is hushed. Only the desert speaks now in whispers and echoes. And there, emerging slowly on the horizon as if born from the earth itself, it rises, the Great Pyramid of Giza. It doesn't simply sit on the land, it belongs to it. Rooted deep in the limestone bedrock, it seems to pulse with the memory of the ages. Towering above the landscape at nearly 150 meters tall, the Great Pyramid was once even taller, its peak now worn by time, yet still commanding. For over 3,800 years, it was the tallest human-made structure on Earth, a title it held until the rise of modern towers. But this monument, born of stone and silence, was never meant to compete. It was built to endure. Commissioned by Pharaoh Khufu around 2560 BCE, the pyramid is the largest of the three that still stand today at Giza, each constructed during Egypt's Old Kingdom period. And while time has stripped much from its gleaming surface, the core remains. Over 2.3 million limestone and granite blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons, were hauled from quarries, transported across the Nile, and fitted together with astonishing precision. Each block was shaped and smoothed with copper tools and human hands, millions of hours, generations of workers, and a staggering unity of purpose. The pyramid's design is a marvel. Its base is nearly a perfect square, with each side aligned almost exactly to the 4 cardinal points of the compass. In fact, it's more accurately aligned to true north than the Royal Observatory in Greenwich. How this was achieved without satellites or compasses continues to puzzle scholars. Some believe the ancient builders used the stars, specifically the constellation Orion, which was deeply sacred to the Egyptians. Others point to the shadows cast at noon, a subtle dance between sun and earth that could reveal cosmic truths to those patient enough to see them. Step closer now. The original smooth casing stones, long stripped away for later building projects, once encased the pyramid in polished Tura limestone. In the ancient sun, it would have gleamed like a shard of frozen light, dazzling in the heat of the day and glowing softly under the stars. The pyramid was not merely a tomb, it was a symbol of ascension. Its sloping sides meant to carry the soul of the pharaoh skyward into eternity. Inside, the passage is narrow. The entrance lies slightly off-center on the north face, leading upward through the grand gallery, a steep and echoing corridor that climbs into darkness. The king's chamber awaits at the heart of the structure, constructed from massive red granite blocks, transported from Aswan, nearly 800 kilometers to the south. How these blocks were moved, let alone lifted and precisely placed, remains a mystery of logistics and labor. There are no inscriptions within the chamber, no grand carvings or murals, just silence. Heavy, timeless silence. There are smaller spaces too. The Queen's Chamber, never believed to have housed a queen, and a series of narrow shafts leading out from the chambers toward the stars. Some scholars believe these served as spiritual passageways aligned with celestial bodies. Others see them as ventilation channels, but their presence adds another layer to the enigma, a reminder that every stone here carries purpose, even if that purpose has been forgotten. For centuries, many believed the pyramid was built by slaves, laboring under the lash of tyranny. But excavations have revealed something quite different. Workers' villages unearthed nearby show signs of organized, well-fed laborers, craftsmen, artisans, and builders who likely viewed their work as sacred. Their tombs, found close to the pyramid itself, suggest honor and respect, not servitude. They were building more than a tomb. They were participating in the divine. And still, the pyramid resists full understanding. In 2017, a large, previously unknown cavity was discovered using cosmic ray imaging, an entire space hidden above the Grand Gallery, untouched for over 4,000 years. What lies inside remains a question, a void in the heart of the pyramid, like a secret it has not yet chosen to share. Legends swirl around this place like desert sand. Some say it was built by giants or aided by lost technology. Others believe it was designed as a kind of ancient energy device or a map of the stars cast in stone. The truth is more wondrous still. It was built by people, by hands like ours, hearts like ours, with a vision so vast it continues to humble the modern world. As dusk descends, the desert cools. The light fades from gold to indigo, and the stars begin to pierce the veil of the sky. The Great Pyramid darkens into silhouette, its shape both geometric and graceful. A camel passes in the distance, hooves barely making a sound. A lantern glows faintly beside a tent. Somewhere nearby, a flute plays a quiet tune that drifts like incense through the air. You sit now in the cool sand, legs folded, gazing up at this mountain of memory. The pyramid is still, unmoving, and yet you feel its presence as something alive. Not a ruin, but a whisper, a story told in stone. It is not only a marvel of engineering, it is a dream rendered in blocks, a bridge between earth and sky, between then and now. Close your eyes. Let the desert wind wash gently over your thoughts. Imagine the stars as they looked to Khufu's astronomers, unpolluted, eternal. The same stars shine now, the same winds blow, and the Great Pyramid watches still. As night deepens, we leave Egypt behind, carried by moonlight and memory. Ahead lies a different land, cooler, greener, where ancient stones rise not from sand, but from soft fields, arranged in silent circles that puzzle and beckon. The mystery of human creation continues, and so too does our journey through the marvels of time. The morning mist rolls gently across the grassy plain. Dew clings to every blade, each droplet catching the soft blush of the rising sun. A hush blankets the landscape, broken only by the distant call of a skylark and the whisper of wind through tall, waving grasses. In the heart of this quiet field stands a circle of stone, tall, weathered, and solemn, Stonehenge. Its silhouette emerges like a dream from the haze, its great lintels resting on upright monoliths, forming doorways to nowhere, gateways to the unknown. Stonehenge is one of the most iconic and enigmatic monuments of the ancient world. Located on Salisbury Plain in southern England, it was constructed over several phases, with the earliest known activity dating back nearly 5,000 years. And yet, despite the centuries, it still holds its secrets close. Who built it? Why did they choose this place? And what messages lie hidden in the circle's geometry? Approaching the stones is like stepping into another time. The tallest of the sarsen stones towers over 6 meters high, weighing more than 25 tons. Some came from local quarries, just a few kilometers away, but others, the smaller but no less significant bluestones, were transported all the way from the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 250 kilometers to the west. How were these stones moved across such distances without wheels or modern tools? Did they travel by land, by raft, or by a method lost to time? The effort required to bring the stones here, let alone raise them into place, speaks to an extraordinary level of organization, planning, and vision. These were not the actions of a primitive or disorganized people. This was careful, deliberate, and sacred work. Each placement, each alignment appears intentional, almost astronomical. Stonehenge is far more than a random arrangement of rocks. The monument is aligned with the movements of the sun, most famously marking the summer and winter solstices. On the longest day of the year, the sun rises behind the heel stone, casting a golden beam directly into the heart of the stone circle. To ancient observers, this must have seemed like magic, a celestial body responding to a human structure, as if the heavens were speaking back, and perhaps that was the point. In a world governed by cycles of light and dark, warmth and cold, life and death, the sky offered guidance. Stonehenge may have been a calendar, a temple, a gathering place, a space where the physical and spiritual met beneath the turning sky. The rising and setting of the sun, the phases of the moon, even the dance of the stars could be read like a sacred book written in the heavens. Archaeological evidence suggests that Stonehenge was not just a monument, but part of a vast ritual landscape. Nearby, Durrington Walls and other sites indicate feasting, festivals, and perhaps funeral rites. Human remains found at Stonehenge show signs of burial, often with grave goods that suggest reverence. People came here from far and wide, their journeys etched into the bones they left behind. This was a place of gathering, of connection, between tribes, between generations, and between the earth and the divine. There is something deeply human in this circle of stone. Its purpose may never be fully known, and yet its presence is profoundly felt. It evokes wonder. It invites stillness, the very act of standing within its bounds, of gazing upon these stones raised by forgotten hands, creates a bridge between past and present. Imagine now that you're walking among the stones. The grass beneath your feet is damp and cool. The air smells of earth and distant rain. You pause in the center of the circle and look up. The stones tower around you, framing the sky in ancient doorways. In that moment, the outside world fades. There are no cities here, no machines, just wind, stone, and time. There are legends, of course. Some say the stones were brought by Merlin. Others whisper they were placed by giants, or even that they hold healing powers. But even without myth, Stonehenge remains magical, a work of memory and imagination carved into the landscape. As centuries passed, the meaning of Stonehenge faded, yet it was never forgotten. Pilgrims, poets, and seekers have come for generations, drawn by something they can't name. Some find peace here, others find mystery, but all leave with the sense that they've touched something older than words, older than history itself. The monument has weathered the storms of time. Wind and frost have worn its surface. Stones have fallen, been taken, or sunk into the soil. And yet it stands. The sun still rises through the heelstone, the seasons still turn around it, and the people still come, just as they always have. As the morning grows brighter, the mist begins to lift. The stones cast long, gentle shadows across the plain. You watch as light slowly fills the circle, tracing lines carved by ancient minds. A soft breeze rustles the nearby trees, and the world seems to exhale. You begin to step away slowly, not out of disrespect, but reverence. Stonehenge does not require answers. It asks only presence. It does not tell its secrets. It invites you to wonder. Now, as you leave the ancient plain behind, carried on the quiet winds of time, you journey eastward into the cradle of civilization itself. There, in a land of sun-baked clay and whispered prayers, another monument rises from the sands. Not a circle, but a stairway. Not a riddle, but a climb toward the divine. The air is dry and still. The morning sun rises slowly over the horizon, casting a warm, amber glow across the flat expanse of the Mesopotamian plain. In the distance, a structure emerges from the dust, its lines geometric and deliberate, its form unlike anything else in sight. You walk across the parched earth, your footsteps soft in the silence, and as you draw closer, you realize what stands before you is not just a building, but a vision. It is the great Ziggurat of Ur, a towering staircase of baked brick that once reached toward the gods. Built over 4,000 years ago, around the 21st century BCE, during the reign of King Ur-Nammu, the ziggurat served as the centerpiece of the ancient Sumerian city of Ur, one of the earliest and most influential urban centers in human history. The city once bustled with life, a vibrant hub of trade, worship, and governance. But now, only remnants remain, and this great temple rises in solitude, its quiet strength echoing the devotion of its creators. The ziggurat was constructed in 3 massive tiers, each smaller than the one beneath, rising like a sacred mountain from the otherwise flat land. Made from sun-dried and fired mud bricks, the core was sturdy, while the outer layers were faced with baked brick bound together with bitumen, a natural asphalt that helped protect the structure from rain and erosion. A grand staircase, once flanked by 2 smaller ones, led worshippers up toward the summit, where a temple dedicated to Nana, the moon god, was believed to have stood. To the people of ancient Mesopotamia, the ziggurat was more than a place of worship. It was a bridge between the human and divine realms. The gods, they believed, dwelled in the heavens, far above the chaos and hardship of earthly life. And so, they built upward, layer by layer, as though trying to ascend toward the sacred, to close the gap between man and the infinite. The temple at the top would have shimmered in the sunlight, painted in brilliant colors and adorned with offerings. Priests ascended its steps, not just to pray, but to carry messages between worlds. Rituals were performed, incense was burned, and hymns were sung in the language of the gods. And from the summit, the city of Ur stretched out in every direction. Mud brick houses, narrow streets, bustling marketplaces. Life pulsed below, while the temple reached upward, a silent reminder of the heavens above. Even the design of the ziggurat reflected cosmic order. Its square base mirrored the earthly plane. Its vertical rise symbolized ascension, and its central axis aligned with celestial bodies, ensuring harmony between the human world and the stars. To climb its steps was not merely to walk higher, but to move closer to the divine, to rise through layers of existence. The city of Ur, nestled near the banks of the Euphrates River, was once a marvel in its own right. Archaeological excavations have revealed temples, palaces, and royal tombs filled with treasures, harps, goblets, and intricately carved seals. This was a place of learning and literature, of law and art. The earliest known version of the wheel was used here. The world's first writing system, cuneiform, was invented by the Sumerians. And in the shadow of the ziggurat, scribes would record stories, transactions, prayers. Among those stories is the tale of Gilgamesh, the semi-mythical king whose adventures echo the human longing for immortality. His epic, carved into clay tablets, remains one of the oldest surviving works of literature, and it speaks of gods and humans, of life and death, of journeys that reach beyond the horizon, all themes that echo in the very stones of the ziggurat. As you ascend the wide central staircase in your mind, imagine the sun warming your back. The air grows thinner with each step. The land below shrinks. The horizon stretches endlessly. And at the top, the wind carries faint echoes, ancient chants, soft footsteps, the rustling of robes. The past is near, brushing against the present like a shadow in sunlight. For centuries, the ziggurat was buried beneath the sands, forgotten by time. It wasn't until the early 20th century that British archaeologist Sir Leonard Woolley excavated the site, revealing its layered majesty once more. What he found confirmed what had long been suspected. This was no mere ruin. It was a cornerstone of civilization, and today, though the temple atop the ziggurat no longer stands, restoration efforts have returned part of its grandeur. The staircases have been rebuilt, the brickwork has been reinforced, and the structure again rises proudly from the desert floor, casting its long shadow at dawn and dusk, just as it did thousands of years ago. Standing at its base, the landscape is quiet, vast, and still. The modern world feels distant here, and the air seems thick with memory. This was once a sacred place, a gathering point for community and belief. And even now, when the wind blows softly across the plain and the sun warms the bricks with ancient light, it feels as if the spirit of Ur stirs again. In the silence of the ziggurat, you feel the pulse of something larger than time, of generations who looked up at the stars and decided not just to wonder, but to build. They did not settle for smallness. They reached upward. They climbed with faith, with vision, with unity. Now, as the desert cools and a pale moon rises in the sky, we begin our journey westward once more, from the plains of Mesopotamia to the hills of ancient Greece, where white marble gleams in the sun and mathematics meets myth. Our next wonder awaits, serene and luminous, the Parthenon of Athens, standing in quiet perfection beneath the endless blue sky. The sun hangs gently above the Athenian hills, casting golden light across the whitewashed rooftops of the ancient city. The air is warm but soft, filled with the distant rustle of olive trees and the gentle calls of doves nesting among the stones. Atop the Acropolis, a hill sacred for centuries, a structure of serene brilliance rises into view. It is not imposing in its height, but in its harmony, in its quiet, deliberate grace, the Parthenon. A temple not just to a goddess, but to an idea of balance, beauty, and the enduring power of human thought. You walk up the worn stone path, winding higher and higher until the city falls away behind you. There, standing under the pale blue dome of the Attic sky, is the crown of Athens. Columns of white Pentelic marble glow with a soft golden hue, their fluted shafts catching the light in ripples. The structure seems to breathe, to shimmer ever so slightly, as if alive with memory. It does not shout for attention, it invites reverence. The Parthenon was built in the 5th century BCE, during the height of Athenian power. It was the age of Pericles, of Socrates and Sophocles, when democracy, philosophy, and the arts bloomed like never before. The temple was dedicated to Athena Parthenos, Athena the Virgin, patron of wisdom and protector of the city. It replaced an earlier temple destroyed during the Persian invasions, and its construction symbolized both triumph and rebirth. Its architects, Iktinos and Kallikrates, did not merely design a building, they sculpted an ideal. Every element of the Parthenon adheres to principles of proportion and geometry, reflecting the ancient Greeks' belief that beauty lay in harmony and order. The structure appears perfectly symmetrical, yet subtle corrections abound. The columns swell slightly in the middle to counter optical illusions. The platform arches upward in the center, and the corner columns are slightly thicker to maintain visual balance. These refinements, invisible to the untrained eye, create a sense of perfection that is felt rather than seen. The Parthenon originally housed a colossal statue of Athena, crafted by the sculptor Phidias. Made of gold and ivory, she stood nearly 12 meters tall, holding a shield and a small figure of Nike, the goddess of victory. Though the statue is long gone, its legacy lingers in the way the temple opens space, frames the sky, and creates a sense of stillness within motion. Walk slowly among the columns now. The marble under your feet is smooth and cool. The wind carries faint whispers of ancient prayers, the sound of sandals on stone, the hushed murmur of philosophers in quiet debate. From this vantage point, the city spreads below like a mosaic, its theatres, agoras, and sacred groves forming a tapestry of civilization. To the ancient Athenians, this temple was not simply a religious monument. It was a statement of identity, a declaration of their place in the world, their values, their dreams. The Parthenon celebrated not just the gods, but the human spirit, the capacity to reason, to create, to strive for something greater than oneself. The temple also served a civic role. Within its treasury were stored the riches of the Delian League, an alliance of Greek city-states led by Athens. Gold, silver, tribute, all kept beneath Athena's watchful gaze. The temple was a place of awe, but also of politics, of pride, and of power. In time, the Parthenon became more than Greek. It passed through many hands and faiths. In the Byzantine era, it became a Christian church dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Later, under Ottoman rule, it was converted into a mosque, complete with a minaret. And in the 17th century, tragedy struck. An explosion during a Venetian siege shattered parts of the structure, sending marble flying into the Athenian night. Despite this, the Parthenon endures. Even in ruin, its form retains a grace that seems almost divine. The broken columns, the fractured pediments, the faded carvings, all speak of resilience, of beauty that survives even in imperfection. There is a certain peace in this endurance, a lesson whispered gently by stone, that what is well made and well loved can outlast even the centuries. The sculptural decoration of the Parthenon was extraordinary. The frieze that once wrapped around the inner chamber depicted the Panathenaic procession, a festival held in honor of Athena, filled with horses, musicians, priests, and offerings. The pediments told stories of gods and heroes, Athena's birth from the head of Zeus, her battle with Poseidon for the soul of the city. These carvings, some now housed in museums far from Greece, still carry the expressive lines and flowing grace of their creator's hands. Now, the Acropolis Museum nearby tells the temple's story with reverence and clarity. It offers a place for reflection, a quiet continuation of the temple's message. That human creativity, guided by wisdom and respect for nature, can produce wonders not just of strength, but of soul. As the sun dips lower in the sky, the marble glows with a warmth that seems almost like fire. the shadows stretch longer and the wind grows cooler. You sit on a nearby stone and gaze once more at the Parthenon, its columns now bathed in peach and amber light. It feels as though the structure is breathing, not with lungs, but with memory. Every flake of stone holds a story, every curve a purpose, and as the lights of modern Athens begin to flicker below, this ancient temple still watches, calm and serene. It does not belong only to the past. It belongs to every moment where humans seek beauty, balance, and meaning. Now, let your thoughts soften. Let the weight of time settle gently around you. And as the Parthenon fades into twilight, our path leads us to the deep canyons of a desert far to the east. There, in a place where rose-red cliffs glow like embers at dusk, another wonder awaits, carved not by hammer and chisel, but by time, wind, and the enduring will of a forgotten people. The path narrows as you move between towering cliffs. The walls rise beside you, sheer, silent, ancient, bathed in a warm rose hue that deepens with every step. Above, a sliver of blue sky slices the canyon in two. This is the Seek, the secret corridor that winds toward one of the world's most breathtaking wonders. Your footsteps echo softly on the worn stone floor, and then, as you turn a final bend, the canyon widens. There, as if revealed by magic, stands the treasury of Petra, carved, not built, luminous in the morning sun, its facade glowing like embers caught in stillness. Petra is a city like no other. Hidden deep in the deserts of southern Jordan, it was the capital of the Nabatean kingdom over 2,000 years ago. To the ancient traveller, it would have seemed like an apparition, monuments, tombs, and temples hewn directly from the living rock, with facades as delicate as lace, and forms as grand as mountains. Even today, it feels like something from a dream, a city sculpted from stone, suspended between time and silence. The Nabateans were master traders and skilled engineers. From the 4th century BCE to the 1st century CE, they controlled trade routes that linked the Mediterranean with Arabia and the East. Their caravans carried incense, spices, textiles, and gems across the deserts. Petra was their crown jewel, a city built not only for commerce, but for ceremony, memory, and wonder. The most iconic structure in Petra is Al-Khazneh, the treasury. Despite its name, it was likely a royal tomb. Standing nearly 40 meters tall, its Hellenistic facade features Corinthian columns, sculptures of eagles and warriors, and a central urn perched high above, a detail that sparked legends of hidden gold, though no treasure was ever found. But Petra's true riches lie not in gold, but in its stones, in its silence, and in the interplay of light and time. Continue walking now through the winding streets of Petra. The city opens up, and the scale reveals itself. Tombs line the cliffs. Temples rise on terraces. A Roman-style theatre sits carved into the mountainside. Everything here is of the earth, yet transformed. The rock itself becomes art. Shades of red, pink, orange, and gold swirl through the sandstone, creating a palette no artist could imitate. As the sun moves, the colours change. Petra never looks the same twice. The Nabateans were remarkable not just for their artistry, but for their ingenuity. This was a desert city where water was more precious than gold, and yet Petra thrived. The people built a complex system of aqueducts, cisterns, and underground reservoirs that captured and stored rainwater. They channeled the flow of flash floods, using gravity and rock to guide it into safe and useful paths. In this way, they turned a harsh and arid landscape into a flourishing oasis. Climb now to the high place of sacrifice. The steps are steep, carved directly into the rock, winding ever upward. Each footstep is a quiet rhythm against the sandstone. As you ascend, the wind grows stronger, cooler, and the city below becomes a tapestry of colour and form. At the top, the views stretch endlessly, canyons, ridges, and distant peaks fading into the horizon. Here, ancient priests once offered sacrifices to the gods, seeking favour, rain, and renewal. Today, there is only wind and sky, and the soft hush of time. Petra was not unknown to the world for all its years. Even during Roman times, it continued to thrive. Roads were paved, markets expanded, new temples rose. But slowly, the trade route shifted. Earthquakes shook the land. The city began to fade. By the Middle Ages, Petra was nearly forgotten, known only to local Bedouins who guarded its secrets closely. Then, in 1812, a Swiss explorer named Johann Ludwig Burckhardt disguised himself as an Arab traveller and persuaded a guide to lead him to the lost city. When he stepped into the Psyche and saw the treasury, as you have now, his breath caught in awe. He had found it, a city written in stone, a memory preserved in silence. Today, Petra is a World Heritage Site and one of the new 7 wonders of the world. Visitors come from every continent, their footsteps echoing those of merchants, priests, and travellers long gone. And yet, in the early morning or at twilight, the city can still feel empty, sacred, and entirely your own. Imagine now that the sun has dipped behind the cliffs. The sandstone takes on deeper tones, purples, greys, dusky reds. Lanterns flicker to life along the pathways, lighting the way in warm amber glows. Somewhere, the soft strum of a rabab, a traditional stringed instrument, drifts through the air. You sit at the base of a tomb, its carved doorway framing the darkening sky, and you listen. There is a peace here that words cannot quite reach. The stones have seen so much: celebration, loss, rainstorms, silence. Yet they remain, bearing witness without judgment. Petra teaches us that even the most immovable materials, rock and mountain, can be shaped by human vision, and that beauty, when carved with intention and care, can outlast even memory. Let the coolness of desert twilight settle over you now. Let the hush of stone and canyon cradle your breath, and as we rise once more to continue our journey, we leave behind the sandstone spires of Petra and head far across the world to where another wonder coils across the mountains and valleys, a wall so vast it seems to hold the very sky in place. Ahead lies China, and with it, one of the greatest undertakings in human history. The morning mist curls gently around the mountains like silk drifting through the sky. You stand on a narrow ridge, surrounded by forested slopes that stretch endlessly in every direction. The air is crisp, tinged with pine and the faint scent of wildflowers. Then, from beneath the folds of fog, it appears, a ribbon of stone snaking across the peaks and valleys, vanishing into the distant haze. The Great Wall of China, winding, weathered, and wondrous. A monument not just to defense, but to vision, endurance, and the unyielding rhythm of human hands. The wall stretches for more than 21,000 kilometers, an astonishing feat of construction that spans centuries. It rises and falls with the contours of the land, tracing deserts, rivers, grasslands, and mountains. It is not one single wall, but a series of fortifications, connected and rebuilt by successive dynasties. Its oldest sections were born in the 7th century BCE, while its most famous stretches, like the ones near Beijing, were raised during the Ming dynasty in the 14th to 17th centuries. At its heart, the wall is a story of protection. It was built to keep out nomadic invaders from the northern steppes, to mark borders, to channel trade, and to send messages across the empire. But beyond its military function, it became something more, a symbol of unity, of the empire's vastness, and of the determination to hold a fragile peace across time and terrain. Walk along the wall now. Your feet meet uneven stones, worn smooth by the passage of soldiers, merchants, and centuries long past. Watchtowers rise at intervals like ancient sentinels, their narrow windows watching over the valleys below. Some sections are crumbling, their bricks softened by centuries of wind and rain. Others stand strong and proud, restored in reverence. But everywhere, the wall hums with memory. During its prime, the wall was manned by thousands of guards. Smoke signals were used to send messages from one tower to the next. A single puff of smoke could signal a small incursion, 5 plumes. An army was approaching. In this way, news could travel across hundreds of miles in mere hours, carried not by feet or horses, but by sky and flame. The construction itself varied by region. In the rocky north, stones were used. In the arid west, rammed earth formed its core. In the more fertile central plains, bricks and tiles became the dominant form. The ingenuity was local, adaptable, ever responding to the land. And yet, across all these styles and materials, the spirit of the wall remained the same: endurance through connection. The Ming dynasty left the most lasting legacy. Their sections of the wall included not just defensive battlements, but also drainage systems, brick walkways, and sophisticated watchtowers. Engineers measured, adjusted, and reinforced. Laborers, often soldiers or local villagers, toiled in harsh conditions: cold winters, dry summers, rugged terrain. Many perished during the building process, and legends say their spirits linger, watching from the stone. But there is also beauty here. The wall winds through some of the most breathtaking landscapes in Asia. Forests burst into colour in autumn. Snow blankets its path in winter. In spring, cherry blossoms drift on the wind, and in summer, the hills hum with cicadas, the sky heavy with heat and promise. Each season leaves its mark, painting the wall anew with every passing month. Imagine standing now atop a watchtower, far from any city. The view is endless. The wind sings in your ears. The mountains rise and fall like waves frozen in time. In the stillness, it's easy to forget the noise of the modern world. Here, the past feels close, close enough to touch, to breathe in, to rest beside. Despite its grandeur, the wall was not impenetrable. Nomads and conquerors found ways through, around, and beyond. It didn't always succeed in keeping enemies at bay, but perhaps that was never its only purpose. The wall was a boundary of stone, yes, but it was also a thread, binding the vast land together, defining a cultural and historical identity that endures to this day. In recent years, the wall has become a place of pilgrimage and preservation. Sections have been restored, while others remain wild and untouched. Tourists walk where soldiers once stood. Artists, poets, and scholars reflect on its meaning. For many, it represents not just ancient might, but quiet perseverance, a reminder that even the most ambitious dreams can take root, one brick at a time. As twilight begins to fall, the wall takes on a different character. Shadows deepen in the valleys. The sky fades to soft lavender. The stones cool beneath your hands. You rest on a low parapet, watching the light disappear behind the mountains. Far in the distance, a fox slips through the underbrush. The air grows hushed, as if the entire landscape is pausing to breathe. And in that stillness, you feel something settle within you. A sense of peace, of continuity. The wall is not a line drawn in fear. It is a path shaped by hope, hardship, and the ceaseless desire to build something that will outlast the builder. As night embraces the land, the wall becomes a silhouette against a sky now scattered with stars. The Milky Way stretches above, a celestial mirror to the winding stones below. And as you begin to descend the steps, each one worn smooth by time, you carry with you the echo of countless footsteps that came before. Our journey continues now, flowing like water through time. We follow the aqueducts of ancient Rome, elegant, precise, and full of quiet genius. Let the mountain air fade behind you, the divine, and prepare to hear the gentle song of running water carried on arches through the heart of empire. The morning begins with a soft breeze rustling the olive trees, their silver-green leaves shimmering in the golden light. Birds chirp gently from distant cypress groves, and the scent of rosemary and stone lingers in the warm Mediterranean air. You find yourself standing at the edge of a Roman town, ancient, sun-dappled, timeless, and above you, stretching across the sky like a graceful colonnade of air and stone, is an aqueduct. Silent, steady, serene. A river in the sky, built to flow without sound, without fail. To the Romans, water was more than a necessity. It was a symbol of civilization itself. Where there was water, there could be cities, baths, fountains, gardens, and life lived in comfort and splendor. And so, they learned to bring water from the mountains, from springs, from distant valleys, carried not in buckets, but in seamless sloping channels carved and built with astonishing precision. The Roman aqueducts were among their greatest engineering triumphs. Though they appear delicate, airy even, they are feats of strength and intellect, stretching for hundreds of kilometers across hills and plains. Some were entirely underground, others soared high above valleys and roads, their arches rising in rhythmic harmony with the land. All relied on the simplest of principles, gravity. A gentle, consistent slope guided the water from source to city, flowing quietly, patiently, tirelessly. Step closer now. Run your hand along the ancient stone. It is smooth in places, weathered in others. You can feel the story in the surface, centuries of wind, rain, and sunlight etched into every crack and curve. These stones were placed not at random, but by careful hands. The mortar was mixed with volcanic ash, creating a concrete so strong it has endured for millennia. One of the most remarkable examples is the Pont du Gard in southern France. Built in the 1st century CE, it rises nearly 50 meters above the Gardon River, its 3 tiers of arches reflected in the calm waters below. No mortar binds the stones together, only gravity and flawless design. Walk across its top now, where the water once flowed in a quiet, steady stream, and you feel suspended between earth and sky, between function and poetry. The aqueducts were not just about delivering water, they were about creating dignity. In Rome itself, 11 aqueducts once fed the capital, supplying over 1 million cubic meters of water each day. The city sparkled with fountains. Public baths offered not just cleansing, but community. Gardens flourished. The people, from senators to citizens, drank from public spouts that never ran dry. And beneath the surface of this achievement was an intricate system of reservoirs, settling tanks, and distribution networks. Engineers, trained in geometry and surveying, calculated slopes to fractions of a degree. They designed inspection shafts and access points, maintenance paths and emergency overflow systems. Water was diverted through lead or clay pipes, depending on the need, and distributed to homes, temples, and forums. Even the aesthetic mattered. Aqueducts were not hidden. They were celebrated. Their arches framed the landscape. Their presence marked prosperity. To conquer a city and gift it running water was to civilize it, to bind it to the Roman ideal. Where the aqueducts flowed, so too did Roman law, language, and culture. Imagine now the sounds of an ancient Roman city at dawn, the hiss of water flowing through pipes, the splash of fountains coming to life, the voices of merchants setting up stalls, their feet tapping against damp stone as the water finds its path beneath the roads. The city wakes, not to thunder or chaos, but to the quiet song of water. Yet these rivers in the sky were also vulnerable. During times of siege or unrest, enemies targeted the aqueducts, cutting the supply and sowing disorder. Earthquakes cracked their foundations. Time and weather wore down their stones. Still, many survived, some repaired, others left to stand as monuments to a once great system. In the centuries after the fall of the Roman Empire, many aqueducts fell silent, cities shrank, the fountains dried, the knowledge faded, but the structures endured. Shepherds grazed sheep beneath them, pilgrims passed in their shade, and slowly the world came to remember what they meant, what they made possible. Even now, some aqueducts remain in use, their channels carrying water, just as they did 2,000 years ago. Others have been lovingly preserved, their arches standing proud against modern skies. In places like Segovia, Rome, and Istanbul, they frame the present with the strength of the past, a quiet reminder that true engineering is as much about care as it is about power. As the day lengthens, the sun casts long shadows through the arches. You sit beneath one now, leaning against its warm stone, lulled by the hush of wind and the distant sound of flowing water. There's a peace here, one shaped not by nature alone, but by the meeting of nature and human intention. The aqueducts tell us that with thought, patience, and vision, even a mountain spring can be made to sing through a city. Let your thoughts flow now, like water along a perfect slope. Let the arches overhead cradle your gaze. And as the afternoon fades into dusk, we turn once more toward the east, where a city of golden domes and sacred silence awaits. There, where continents meet and empires rose and fell, stands a marvel of faith and architecture, its dome suspended like a pearl against the heavens. Let us continue onward, gently, to the wonder that is Hagia Sophia. The morning fog drifts gently over the Bosphorus, weaving between the masts of boats and the rooftops of a city shaped by empires. Istanbul, the meeting point of continents, where east and west embrace in a quiet, eternal dance. As the light brightens and the call to prayer echoes softly across the hills, one building catches your eye above all others. It rises with grace, its dome immense yet delicate, floating like a promise in the sky. This is Hagia Sophia, the Church of Holy Wisdom, a structure born of vision and mystery, suspended between earth and heaven. As you walk toward it, the hum of the city fades. The cobbled streets grow quieter, pigeons flutter from marble fountains. Then, through an archway, the full form of Hagia Sophia appears, majestic, serene, impossibly balanced. The main dome soars above a series of smaller half-domes, all perfectly arranged, as if the building were unfolding like a great stone flower. Hagia Sophia was first constructed in the year 537 CE under the orders of Emperor Justinian Theonomen, who sought to create not only the grandest church in Christendom, but a symbol of divine order itself. Within just 5 years, his vision rose from the ruins of an earlier basilica destroyed during riots. Designed by Anthemius of Tralles and Isidore of Miletus, two men trained not as architects, but as mathematicians, the building was a revolution in form and scale. The dome itself became an icon of architectural daring. Measuring over 30 meters in diameter and appearing to float effortlessly above the nave, it rests not directly on walls, but on a series of pendentives, triangular curved forms that transition the weight of the dome onto massive supporting piers. These innovations allowed for the creation of a vast open interior unlike anything seen before. Light pours in from 40 windows circling the base of the dome, making it appear to hover toward the divine, weightless and luminous. Byzantine chroniclers described it as a dome suspended from heaven by a golden chain. Step inside now. The air cools as you pass through ancient bronze doors, their surfaces worn by the touch of generations. The vast nave opens before you, filled with filtered light that moves across marble floors like drifting mist. Mosaics glimmer softly on the walls, gold, sapphire, crimson. Images of Christ, the Virgin, emperors and angels, all rendered in tiny tiles that catch the light like stars. Every inch of the interior was designed to evoke awe. To enter Hagia Sophia was not just to visit a building, it was to step into a celestial realm. The acoustics too are part of the magic. A whisper from the apse can be heard near the entrance. Chanting resonates with ethereal clarity. During its early centuries, choirs would sing beneath the dome, their voices rising like incense into the upper vaults. Sound and silence danced together here, creating a space that seemed not only sacred, but infinite. For nearly 1,000 years, Hagia Sophia stood as the crown of Orthodox Christianity. It survived earthquakes, invasions, and political upheaval, each time repaired with care and reverence. Then, in 1453, Constantinople fell to the Ottomans. Sultan Mehmed II entered the city and, in awe of the building's grandeur, ordered it preserved and converted into a mosque. Minarets were added, Christian iconography covered or reinterpreted, and new beauty introduced, delicate calligraphy, intricate mihrabs, and the names of Allah and the Prophet Muhammad inscribed in graceful script. Rather than erase the past, Hagia Sophia absorbed it. It became a place where traditions met, where mosaics of angels looked down upon verses from the Quran, where domes and minarets echoed together in harmony. Through this fusion, the building transcended its origins and became something more, a testament to the enduring human search for meaning, for the sacred, for connection to the infinite. In the 20th century, Hagia Sophia was transformed once more, this time into a museum, a gesture of preservation and shared heritage. Visitors from every culture and faith came to marvel at its balance, its silence, its light. And though the building has once again become mosque in recent years, it remains a symbol of unity across time, a sacred space layered with the prayers of many. Imagine yourself now beneath the central dome. The light streams in, golden and soft. The air is still, almost breathless. Your gaze rises to the dome, to the delicate mosaics and the graceful calligraphy. Everything feels distant and near all at once. There is no hurry here. Time has softened. The walls do not close in, they expand. The space holds you gently, like a deep breath released. Sit for a while on the marble floor where emperors once knelt and pilgrims once wept. The stone is cool beneath you. The light dances across the ceiling. You hear the faint echoes of footsteps, the rustle of robes, the distant murmur of ancient prayers. Hagia Sophia doesn't speak, it listens. It listens to history, to longing, to stillness. It is a place not of answers, but of presence. As the day begins to fade and the shadows grow long, you step outside once more. The sky above Istanbul turns a soft violet, pierced by the rising moon. Minarets stand tall beside the domes. The city's lights begin to sparkle across the Bosphorus. And behind you, Hagia Sophia glows quietly, as if lit from within. You carry that glow now as you move on, east once again, toward the dense jungles of Southeast Asia. There, hidden among the trees and reflection pools, lies a temple complex that seems to rise from the earth like a vision, towers shaped like lotus buds, carvings of gods and dancers, a place where time stands still beneath the rising sun. Let us continue to Angkor Wat. The morning mist hangs low over the jungle, soft and silver, veiling the canopy in mystery. Birds sing softly from branches high above, and dragonflies skim the surface of still waters. As the first rays of the sun begin to rise, they strike the reflection pools, painting the surface gold. Slowly, as if emerging from a dream, the towers of Angkor Wat reveal themselves, symmetrical, serene, and breathtaking. Their forms mirrored perfectly in the water below. They seem to float, lotus-like, between heaven and earth. You walk along the ancient causeway, lined with balustrades shaped like coiled nagas, mythical serpent beings who guard sacred places. The sandstone beneath your feet is warm from centuries of sun. Monks in saffron robes pass silently, their footsteps gentle, their presence reverent. And before you, rising above the dense forest of Cambodia, stands the largest religious monument in the world, Angkor Wat. Built in the early 12th century by King Suryavarman II, Angkor Wat was dedicated to Vishnu, the Hindu god of preservation. Over time, it became a Buddhist temple, reflecting the cultural and spiritual shifts that have shaped Cambodia through the centuries. But regardless of belief, it has always remained a place of devotion, of cosmic symbolism, of architectural wonder. The scale alone is astonishing. Covering over 160 hectares, Angkor Wat is not a single building but a sacred city of stone. Its central temple is surrounded by moats and courtyards, galleries and shrines, each carved with exquisite detail. The 5 towers, shaped like closed lotus buds, rise in perfect quincunx formation, 4 at the corners and 1 at the center, echoing the mythical Mount Meru, believed to be the center of the universe in Hindu and Buddhist cosmology. Step beneath one of the outer galleries. Here, the walls are alive with bas-reliefs, nearly a kilometer of narrative carvings depicting scenes from the Ramayana and Mahabharata, from daily life, from heaven and hell. The figures move with fluid grace, warriors in battle, gods bestowing blessings, celestial dancers frozen mid-twirl. The craftsmanship is so fine that even after centuries of wind and rain, the details remain. Fingertips, earrings, strands of hair. In one panel, you see the churning of the ocean of milk, a vast cosmic tale in which gods and demons pull on a great serpent coiled around a mountain to stir the ocean of creation. It is a story of balance, of effort and reward, and the struggle between light and shadow. And as you watch the carved figures strain and swirl across the wall, it feels not like mythology, but memory, etched into the stone for those willing to pause and look. Climb now toward the central sanctuary. The staircases are steep, as if reminding pilgrims that the path to the divine is not always easy. With each step, the forest fades further below, the sky opens wider above, and when you reach the summit, the view is humbling. Temples dot the horizon, palm trees sway in the breeze, and the stillness seems to stretch across centuries. Inside the central shrine, it is quiet. Light filters through narrow windows, catching motes of dust that drift like golden incense. Statues of Buddha and Vishnu sit in calm repose, their eyes half closed, their smiles faint and knowing. Offerings of jasmine, incense, and rice lie at their feet. You sit for a while, cross-legged, listening to the silence, the kind of silence that is not empty but full. It holds the breath of prayers spoken and unspoken, of moments lived and remembered. Angkor Wat was not built in haste. It took decades to complete, requiring thousands of artisans, architects, and laborers. Stones were quarried from kilometers away, floated down rivers, carved with precision, and placed with a vision that was both spiritual and scientific. The alignment of the complex is no accident. It faces west, an unusual orientation for a Hindu temple, often interpreted as a sign of its connection to funerary rites and the setting sun. Some scholars believe the entire complex was designed as a cosmological map, its dimensions reflecting sacred numerology, its layout echoing the heavens. The central tower, it is said, represents the axis mundi, the world axis connecting earth to sky. Around it, the galleries and moats mirror the oceans and mountain ranges of the mythic universe. In time, the jungle crept closer. Trees grew through walls, roots split stones, and yet the temple endured. When European explorers rediscovered it in the 19th century, they found a city asleep but not forgotten. The locals had always known it was there, calling it Angkor Wat, the city of temples. They lit incense, swept the shrines, and whispered prayers in the cool chambers. Restoration efforts in the modern era have helped preserve the site, but much of its magic remains untouched. The mossy walls, the gentle sway of the banyan trees, the sense that time moves differently here, slower, deeper, like the slow rhythm of breath. As the sun begins to set, the sky deepens to rose and violet. The towers glow with a soft inner fire, their edges gilded by the fading light. Birds return to roost. Monks chant in the distance, and the reflection pools, still as glass, double the wonder, as if the temple were floating in two worlds, one above, one below. You sit by the edge of the water, watching the sky change. The day has been long, but gentle. Angkor Wat does not rush you. It does not demand. It simply is, a place of harmony, of patience, of sacred presence. Let the scent of lotus and incense stay with you now. Let your thoughts wander like the jungle vines that wrap around stone. And as night settles softly over the sacred city, we journey high into the clouds to the Andes Mountains, where mist curls between ancient stones, and another wonder waits in silence. A lost citadel among the peaks, a memory carved above the clouds. Let us now drift to Machu Picchu. The morning mist clings to the mountains like a dream refusing to let go. The sun has not yet broken the horizon, but a soft glow begins to creep over the peaks, casting a faint gold on the jagged ridgelines of the Andes. The air is cool and crisp, fragrant with moss and wild orchids, and far below, the Urubamba River winds through the valley like a silver ribbon. You stand on a narrow path, high above the world, and through the veil of cloud it emerges, stone by stone, terrace by terrace, Machu Picchu, the lost city of the Incas, a sanctuary in the sky. It takes your breath away, not for its grandeur alone, but for its harmony. It does not fight the mountain, it embraces it. The walls follow the curve of the land. The roofs, long vanished, once mirrored the slopes. The terraces step down the mountain like green waves. Everything here feels intentional, peaceful, alive, as if it was always meant to be here, waiting to be discovered by those who walk softly and look with wonder. Believed to have been built in the mid-15th century by Emperor Pachacuti, Machu Picchu remains one of the most mysterious and magnificent sights on Earth. It was never recorded in Spanish colonial documents, and lay hidden for centuries, untouched by conquest, time, or destruction. It wasn't until 1911, when explorer Hiram Bingham was guided here by local farmers, that the world beyond the Andes rediscovered this marvel. But even then, it was not truly lost. The people of the mountains had always known. They had always remembered. Step into the city now. The stonework is astonishing. No mortar holds the walls together, yet they fit so precisely that not even a blade of grass can slide between the blocks. The Incas understood not just stone, but the mountain. They listened to it. Their temples, homes, and staircases were not imposed on the land. They grew from it. Engineers and masons worked in tandem with priests and astronomers, ensuring that each structure aligned with the sun, the stars, and the sacred terrain. One of the most revered spaces is the Temple of the Sun, a semicircular tower that once held a golden altar. During the solstice, sunlight enters a small window and falls directly onto a carved ceremonial stone, evidence of a cosmic dialogue between architecture and nature. Nearby, the Intihuatana, or hitching post of the sun, rises from the rock like a shard of crystal. Scholars believe it served as a solar clock or ritual device, helping priests mark the turning of seasons. Even today, when you place your hands near it, some say you can feel a faint warmth, a gentle hum, a pulse from the past. Wander through the quiet residential quarters. Picture the lives lived here, the weavers, the farmers, the priests, the children. They grew maize and potatoes on the terraced slopes, gathered water from mountain springs, told stories by firelight beneath the stars. They lived close to the sky, but grounded in ritual and rhythm. This was not a city of war, but of retreat, a royal estate perhaps, a spiritual sanctuary, a place where silence was sacred and the mountains were gods. There are no grand gates at Machu Picchu, no fortifications or statues of conquest, only stone and sky, and the breath of the wind. This was a place to observe, to reflect, to connect, a space where the divine was not in a temple alone, but in every fern, every cloud, every breeze. As you continue through the city, the sun finally rises above the mountain ridge. Light floods the stone paths and dances across the terraces. Llamas graze lazily, unbothered by time. The clouds begin to lift, revealing the full glory of the sight. You sit on a ledge overlooking the city and the valley below, hearts slowed, thoughts quiet. There is something eternal about Machu Picchu. It was never lost to the people of these lands. It was never broken, only resting. Now, preserved and honored, it welcomes those who seek not only views, but meaning, not only beauty, but stillness. As you sit, you become aware of the silence, not empty, but full of wind through grass, full of memory, full of light. You feel the mountain breathe, and with it, so do you. So, their smiles, faint and knowing, wonders comes to an end. Offerings of jasmine, we have incense and rice lie at their feet. Deserts and jungles. You sit for a while, cross-legged, listening to the silence. Before pyramids, the kind of silence that is not empty but full. Aqueducts, it holds the breath of prayers, spoken and unspoken, temples carved of moments and lifted toward the sky. Each one different, each one the same, all built by human hands, the divine, guided by hope, belief, and the quiet desire to endure. If you're still awake, you can now allow the soothing sounds to drift you gently off to sleep. Let your thoughts fade like mist across the plain, and let rest find you softly and slowly. Or, if you're still full of quiet curiosity, why not journey onward with one of our other videos? Perhaps into the mysteries of long-lost civilizations, or the wonders of ancient Egypt, or the forgotten secrets of time and stars. Wherever you are, thank you for listening, and until next time, sleep well.